I would like to first start with a traditional introduction. Those of you who have seen our Facebook posts or any posts on social media, you hear me blathering in something, and Regina now has put it into closed captioning. So that was one comment that we did have, is that we need subtitles. So. But a traditional Anishinaabe greeting is always a three-pronged component. We introduce ourselves, we introduce who we are, we introduce our clan, where we belong, and then we introduce the land in which we are from. So something to that effect would sound like Ani bujunenewe maganruk, maing nanibut indejnakas, maing dodem nin da'au, North Shore Band waganak single dawak ndunjaba. So what I said is, hello all my relatives. My Anishinaabe name is Maing, which is standing wolf. I'm Wolf Clan from the Waganak Single Dawak Ndunjaba. That is the North Shore Band of Little Traverse Bay Band of Odawa Indians out of Harbor Springs, Michigan. So I welcome you to the first official kickoff event for our Indigenous Heritage Celebration here at MCC. And with that, I would like to start with a traditional land acknowledgement that you may or may not be familiar with. And if this is interesting to you, or of interest to you, I will be doing a workshop for faculty and staff on Monday, November 8th in Ash 137 about land acknowledgements. But here at MCC, Montcalm Community College would like to recognize that MCC occupies the traditional and the contemporary lands of the nations of the Three Fires, which consists of the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Bodhiatomi. By offering this acknowledgement with honor and gratitude, we affirm and advocate Indigenous sovereignty and commit to hold MCC accountable to the needs of Indigenous students, our community, and the land in which it sits. So why we do that is to honor and respect the Indigenous inhabitants of the land and where this land came from, and the opportunity that MCC has to be here, right? Because without the land being illegally obtained from the Anishinaabe, our college wouldn't exist. So that is just a small step that we can do to start acknowledging the traditional inhabitants of the land. So most of you know me. I'm Seth Thomas Sutton. I'm faculty here at MCC Arts and Humanities Department. But it's not really about what I'm here for. We want to do two things today. One is we have an amazing artist with us today, Jason Quigno from the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe out of Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And if you are not familiar with Jason's work, you are really missing out. But we had the opportunity when Ken DeLong, which we all know, retired. We wanted to do something in a small gesture to honor his time here, which was 43 years. Wow. So, you know, we had some discussions on what we could do, and the first thing that popped into my mind to kind of reflect Ken's permanence and what he has done to this building and to this institution. I wanted something to reflect that. So the first thing that popped in my mind was Jason's work and stone. So that kind of conversation evolved into, you know, looking at his work, and it was just an immediate, you know, yes, that this was perfect. So we reached out to Jason, and he so graciously accepted our offer. And so I want to honor Jason as well for being an artist. And I invited him to come up and talk a little bit about his process and what stone means to the Anishinaabe lifeways. And he is the founder of Anishinaabe Studios in Grand Rapids. Asin is our word for stone. But it's really the idea that, you know, they who've been here forever, right? So I want to have Jason come up and talk about his work, and then we will be, you know, having Ken come up and say a little bit after that. So I will get off this thing. You've seen me talk enough, but I would like to introduce Jason Quigno, again, Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe. Let me know when you want me to.
Okay, yeah. Bonjour, Nishmakane, Makwa, Indigenous, Gnu, Indigenous, Makwa, and Doda. Yep, I am Jason Quigno. I live in Grand Rapids. My studio is in Grand Rapids. I've been down there for 20 years. I'm in an old furniture warehouse where I do a lot of my big projects. I've been carving stone since the age of 14. My mother actually forced me into a class at that time. I fell in love with it. I didn't want to go at first, but then once I started, it gave me a direction in life. At the time, I didn't know it. I kept going, and yeah, 30 years later, here I am. I'm still doing it. I started out with real small pieces, tabletop, and now actually I'm about to do a 20-foot sculpture for Grand Valley State University. 20-foot, 10,000 pounds. So that'll be set to go in the springtime. And so with stone, like the Great Lakes people, we did carve effigy pipes. You know, there was some of that stone, and there was petroglyphs, like the Sanilac petroglyphs and stuff like that. We did put some of our stories and stuff into stone, but not too much. And so when I started, and after I got going, I thought, well, I had looked at all of the other cultures like Egypt and India and all them old ones that had statues and sculptures depicting their stories. And I thought, man, I think the Anishinaabe deserves something like that. And so it's kind of been my path in life is to tell a lot of those stories and put them down in stone. So when I'm gone, and they'll be here for a long time. So this one's I did years ago. So here I'm gonna do some pictures so you can see what else I do a little bit. This is a Michigan alabaster. So I work in several different stones. Alabaster, not several, just say a handful. Granite, marble, limestone, soapstone. My latest thing is field stones. I take like field boulders and carve them. They're a lot of fun. So as an artist, and I do this for a living as a job, it gets I love it, but then it gets boring. I love it and hate it at times. So you got to do things to keep it interesting. And
Probably rings true with several people here.
Yeah. And my process in the studio is I have several pieces going at once. I can't focus on one. I was never able to focus, so this works out for me actually. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, go to the next picture. So this one's Indiana limestone, and I called that one Thunder Clan Woman, and it was about just one of the clans honoring the women and the Thunder Clan. So, and that's how I did that one. The eagle wing with the lightning bolt, or the feathers being lightning bolts, and that's made from Indiana limestone. Go ahead, go to the next one. So here's some contemporary work. So as an artist too, Anishinaabe artist, I would do some of the shows out in Santa Fe at the Herd Museum. And I started doing this contemporary stuff years ago, and I'd have people coming up to me saying, well, that ain't Native American, that ain't Indian work, why are you doing that? It's like, what are you talking about? I said, I made it. It is Native work. And so it kind of set me on a path to telling our stories in a different way. So a lot of my work is contemporary in lines. It's real, this one's kind of two-dimensional and real smooth lines, and so I kind of do my own way. And this one is actually, you probably can't see that on your phone, but it started out as, I got the idea from a petroglyph, and one of the things was a spiral. So it set me off on this, doing spirals and carving them in stone. And then I wanted to capture the light. And that's Michigan alabaster. Go ahead and go to the next one. This is another one in that series. So as an artist, I'll get into these little grooves, and so I did a few of these. And this one represents like two galaxies, or two people, two spirits coming together. Like, and then the center is they're becoming one. And go ahead and go to the next one. This one is it's just a close-up, but it was about 6 feet tall. I called it Earth Totem. It's made from Indiana limestone, and it's the center cuts represent the water, like the riverways, and then the stone itself represents the earth, and the side cuts kind of represent that wind and erosion. So that's kind of a series I did, and I just revisited this series again. So the one I'm doing for Grand Valley is going to be similar to this style, but 20 feet.
Oh yeah.
Heavy duty. Well, go to the next one. There's some more in that series that I did. So I always like to explore a little bit more and go to the next one. And here's some more with the kind of set me off on the Mobius loops. That kind, for me, represents the continuous, you know, even we're in this life and then the next life, we keep moving. Our energy keeps moving. I don't know where we go, you know, everyone has their theories, but I just know we go somewhere. That's kind of the same in the series, and then this one's actually in the collection at the Muskegon Museum of Art. It's about 5 feet. So them ones were fun for a time because they're a real challenge, because they start out as a huge block of stone. That was about 400 pounds, and then when I was done, it was 80 pounds. And so you cut all that away, and then it's holding together, you know. You have these banded loops looping around, and yeah, it's a challenge, but a lot of fun. Go ahead, go to the next one. And then this one I call Thunder in the Distance, and it actually comes from my mom's maiden name, Quigno. The original spelling of it meant thunder in the distance. I always thought that was cool, so I had this vision of the buffalo and like as the lightning bolt in my contemporary style. I would like to do this one monumental. That's why I did it too. I'd like to see it like 8 feet tall one of these days.
Well, you know, if you ever go to Jason's studio, it's amazing. He does these small, like, I don't know, like doodle sketches, but they're amazing works. And he's like, oh yeah, this is going to be like 12 feet tall. And it's amazing in and of itself, just the small piece. You know, I don't know. These pictures don't do your work justice, I don't think. That you have to see them with the energy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Go ahead, go to the next one. And then here's some of them field boulders I talked about. So you know what I like about these? They have that crust. You know, they've been sitting out in nature for like millions of years. It took that long to form that crust and that shape, and then to come in to do just my little bit of stuff. need to accentuate that. Yeah, they're kind of my thing for right now. And I've done quite a few of them. They didn't, at first, no one was receptive to them, but now they're doing pretty good for me. Go ahead and go to the next one. Another one in the series. These were all 5,000-pound boulders. We moved them into a gallery that I show in Grand Rapids, LaFontaine Gallery. So it looked pretty cool have these natural boulders and then inside of a real nice gallery setting with the lights. Look, go ahead, go to the next one. Oh, that's another Earth Totem series. And that's, you can see the full effect of it. So on the big one too, I use light and shadow. And so as the sun moves across it, it'll cast different shadows throughout the day. So as you look at it, it's going to be different throughout the day. Oh yeah. That one was just to see if I could do it. Sometimes you gotta see, like try it.
Is that one stone?
Yeah. It was like 5 feet. And so sometimes I try to like to push the stone to see how delicate I can get it while keeping the structure. And
Yeah, I have a question. When you almost get them done and they break, what words do you use when they
you know, I don't break them too much anymore, but it don't bother me now. I used to. In the beginning, I broke a lot. You know, I used to get pretty mad about it, but now some of my best work has come from breaks, actually.
Oh,
Because
do you have any in Myers Garden? Any?
Yeah, in the children's garden.
Oh,
They make a distinction. Say, if you have a piece in the children's garden or the Myers sculpture. Go ahead, go to the next one. And then here was an exhibition I had at the Muskegon Museum of Art. Just a bunch of contemporary pieces. It was a lot of fun now. I'm coming up to some monumentals. Here's some of the old stuff I used to do. So I do like the face with the eagle on top. And sometimes I like to revisit them. And when I was first starting, I did a lot of these. That was kind of my bread and butter as an artist. And I got kind of sick of them, you know. But now I revisit them. They're fun to do. I'm actually doing a big one like that. Go ahead, go to the next one. Okay, here we go. We're getting into some of my monumental works. So this one is with the turtle, and then on top has the crane inside of a circle, and on top is a stainless steel flames, 3 flames representing the 3 fires. And so this sculpture is in the Elder Center in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. So they wanted to honor the elders, and so the turtle represents the wisdom, and the crane with the leadership. And it was perfect for the elders. And then that sits in a pool, and I did that with 2 other artists, my mentor Dennis Christie and my buddy Ben Hinman. And we did that, and we did it pretty quick actually, like 3 months. There's 3 of us, a lot of all-night days on that one. Go ahead and go to the next. And then Whirlwind Spirits is actually it's up for grabs. It's at my mentor's place, and me and my mentor Dennis Chrissy did this for Art Prize, for the first Art Prize, like 2 weeks before we decided to do it, and he had this big stone. I said, all right, let's go for it. So yeah, we hammered that thing out in 2 weeks. It was pretty brutal too. I'll go ahead and go to the next one. Zundege Kwe, a strong-hearted woman. So I did this in kind of honor of my mom and some of the women out there that when I was growing up that I seen in my life. growing up on the reservation, you know, it was some hard times, and, you know, there's a lot of alcoholism and dysfunction, and I always seen them women and them aunties would always be standing strong, even though like they were hurting and had their own problems. They was always there for the kids, taking care of us. So that I do these women, strong-hearted women series. And I've made quite a few over the years. Yeah, go to the next one. Clans of the Anishinaabe. And here's the turtle with the floral designs on the back, and then the 3 fires, and then the 3 fires is flowing up into the clan animals. So there's a marten, bear, loon, sturgeon, eagle, and crane. Crane's on top. They're like the leaders in a way. And that one's at Grand Valley State University. And that was 9 feet tall. Here's some of the contemporary stuff I did. So the 7 grandfathers, there's 7 holes that represent the 7 grandfather teachings. There's love, respect, honesty, bravery, truth, humility, and wisdom. And those are some of the core teachings that the Anishinaabe strive to live by. Almost impossible to live by, I think sometimes. But, and then the lines going out from them circles represent like how you go off onto different paths, like when you go away from those values, and then as it loops around, you always come back. And then go to the next one. That one's a New Buffalo next to Lake Michigan. Here's all my relations, and that's 18 feet tall. That's black granite. So I did that in 3 pieces, 4.5 feet pieces. And each piece weighed 4,000 pounds. So I had them shipped to my studio from the quarry, and they unloaded them for me. I have a big hoist where I'm able to move this stuff. But yeah, so that's again with the 7 grandfathers. So there's 4 sides to this column. Each side has the 7 grandfathers. And the way it's sitting in, so each side is facing one of the cardinal directions. And kind of represents all the directions. And yeah, it was my biggest one to date till after I get this next one done. Go ahead and get the next one. That's another picture of that. And then around it, you see these benches. Those are some of the, so I make them into benches, to make stone benches. And represents the 4 directions too. Go ahead. This one's at the Gerald R. Ford Airport. So I got commissioned just actually before COVID hit. So when COVID hit real strong and they had the travel restrictions, like my stone was ready, and I was like, man, I better take off to Indiana. I was kind of like worried, you know, because he was hearing of people getting pulled over. I thought, I need my stone. So I drove to Indiana.
I remember I was at your studio when you were working on the turtle. And the
Oh
base.
yeah.
Yeah. That's when we came in with Rob.
Yep. And yeah, so I brought it back, and then one thing being as an artist in my studio, I'm by myself, so I was isolated. I'm always isolating anyways. Go ahead to the next one.
Yeah, right.
And then there's some of the tools I use to work with. A lot of grinders, a lot of diamond tools. It's very labor intensive. All day of just cutting and hammering, climbing ladders, climbing down. Actually, on that one I did for the airport, I broke my end of my bone by my elbow. They can't do nothing about it. using a big power drill. And,
Well,
I didn't even know at the time. I thought it was, that hurts, but it didn't feel broke. Then I found out months later. It still works though, so. Go ahead, go to the next. Here's one I did for Art Prize. And then this one's actually going to a private buyer in Holland, Michigan. And it was a 4-foot cube, and it has them spirals. Same with the spirals, but what's cool about this one is you follow those lines, they're continuous. So they keep from every angle, every corner, if you follow it, it will keep going infinitely. It was an accident how I came across that. So a guy seen the concept, and so he commissioned it. And I'm finishing that one right now. So hopefully by Christmas I'll be done with that. And that's 10,000 pounds. No, 7,000. Started out 12,000 pounds. And then that's my studio in the background. Go ahead, one more. And there it is next, me next to it, so you can kind of get the scale.
But you have a small one.
Yeah,
That was in and of, I mean, that's amazing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't he want that one as well? Is that?
he has the small.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So we got both of them.
Yeah. So like this picture was taken at 4 in the morning. I was up for like a day and a half, putting the last touch on it. As an artist, I had to work that way. Now that I'm getting older, I try not to. 'Cause I can't hang no more. And yeah, so those are some of the works I've done, and always telling the stories of the stone, so generations down the road, the younger Anishinaabe, they'll have something there. They'll be placed all over the place too.
Are there any questions that we have for Jason? Yeah, I mean, you don't, just raise your hand.
When you go to get the stone, do you pick the stone out, or do they send you pictures, or how do you pick out a 10,000 pound?
It depends. So if I'm getting like smaller stones, and I say smaller, it's like this big, maybe 3 foot in circumference, I'll go pick them up myself. And there's a dealer who gets them from all over the world. He's in Kansas, so I traveled down there, and that's pretty expensive. Some of them stones are $4 a pound, and you're buying like a 3,000 pound stone. It ain't even that big either, but that's why they cost so much. And then, so like this one, I got it cut into a 4-foot cube, and that came from the quarry, and then they send it to a place, and so they send it. When I get it from a quarry and a dealer, they're guaranteeing there's going to be no cracks or anything in there. So, yeah, it all depends. Then, like the field stones, I go to like local landscape supply places, pick them out. Or maybe I might see one in the field that I can handle, I'll go pick it up. Or the woods.
I was glad that you showed your tools. It would be amazing to see like a time-lapse video of one of these taking shape. Do you take pictures of like in the process?
Yeah,
Do you have any video of like? I just have a hard time looking at those tools and looking at these smooth lines. And it just doesn't. It boggles my mind.
So I do got a website, but a lot of my stuff is on Facebook, and it's public. So if you just wanted to look in.
Yeah.
Some of my albums have like the airport project from the raw block, and I take pictures
cool.
all the way through.
Cool.
And so yeah, you can see all the stuff I use.
And La France is open during the week, the gallery.
Yeah.
I've seen your stuff there. My brother-in-law works there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're a good gallery.
How do you support a piece like that? Like, how is it sitting there like
Yeah,
that? What's
so-
supporting it?
It's on a steel base that actually, even without anything in there, it'll balance. So that's the trick of these ones. they're kind of nerve-wracking to lift that one up. You know, a small one is one thing, but to lift a 7,000-pound stone up on its corner, it's sitting on a 18-inch triangle. And a lot of it's balance, but before I picked it up, I ended up drilling a hole about 12 inches up into it and probably 3 inches in circumference. And I put a stainless steel plate on the bottom with a stainless tube up there. So when I put it on a base, that steel is supporting it.
Yeah, still low. Still 7,000 pounds, that's just...
You know, and that's a light one, that's what I can handle. Any more than that, I can't handle.
Do you
gotta
have any
call it.
idea how the Egyptians made their pyramids?
I hear all kinds of theories.
I mean, working with stone, it must have been challenging.
Yeah, actually, got invited over there
Did you?
to go carve, but I've been pretty busy with this, making money, so you gotta take it when it comes. 'Cause-
Have you ever had one fall?
Oh yeah, I had it was a granite column, and I was moving at my studio, and
Oh.
it fell. It was 8 feet tall, and you should have heard the sound. I was surprised my floor didn't break. It did crack it, but I was like, holy cow.
So did you change the work then? Change
Yeah.
to something else?
Well, it wasn't even started.
Oh, I see.
I was about to start it, so I was like, wow. I still got the pieces, actually, just sitting in a pile. One of these years I'll get to it.
So if you're taking that much stone off of a block like that, you must have an awful lot of,
Oh, yeah.
like, what do you do with all the stuff you're taking off? Do you have to have like daily pickup?
No, sometime. Lately, I put it in 5-gallon buckets. I just dump them on my dumpster at work. At the studio I'm rented, do like maybe 3 or 4 buckets a day, you get rid of it.
Okay.
But before, I've had like piles this big sitting out on the side, and it's like, ah, man, now I gotta clean it up. Usually in the end of summer. At one time, I filled the parking lot where I was, just went and filled all the holes.
That's awesome. Outside his studio, he has like it's like a little garden of just stones. He's like, well, that broke off this, and it sets there. He's like, I'll do something with it later, I think that's where, right, that
Yeah.
base came through is
Yeah.
from something else that was just a remnant. Walking through, and he's like, oh, that's actually that's cool,
I'm a hoarder of stone. I bet you have 50,000 pounds of stone hanging around my studio.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you.
Jason? So, Anishinaabe Studios.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Anishinaabe Studios. It means stone man. So I took a long time to come up with that name, and it fit. Stone Man Studios.
Yeah. That's on our website right now. We will be posting this video a little bit later, probably not today, maybe tomorrow, I don't know, whenever it gets done and formatted and so on and so forth. But we do have links on our website and on our Facebook page to Jason's studio and his Facebook page. We are trying to hyperlink him as much as possible, so please stop out or look at those. Any studio galleries, that he's involved in, please go, support local artists, of course. So, Chimigwetch, Jason, for showing us and teaching us about what you do and how you do it, and it's impressive. It is amazing to see just the stone, and it's just blows my mind as well. So, okay. Again, Jason's just blew me away when I first met him, and I met him through a friend and dealings at Grand Valley State University, and So Rob and I went out to talk to him about, you know, kind of our commission, what we wanted, what we were thinking. You know, obviously we didn't ever want to dictate or direct being an artist, of course. You do you, you know, we want to pay you to be you. I don't particularly subscribe to that ideology of like, oh, we're going to pay you to be your artist's self, but we don't want you, we want this, right? And that was kind of one of those conversations that I had with Rob. And obviously we knew Ken, what he represented, and it just fit. And Jason alluded to it a little bit with the understanding of like clan teachings. So the piece is named ajijaak, which is crane, the echo maker, which ironically fits, because anybody that knows Ken, anybody that's listened to Ken knows that you could hear him all the way up and down the hallway, right? But the idea of ajijaak Totem, our Totems, our clan, the English word for totem actually comes from our word Totem. And if we start looking at breaking some of these words down, we understand kind of like the mindset in which these words came from and what they were speaking of and thinking of. And we look at the word Totem, that ode, that day part is the heart. Literally, we translate it, you know, to it's the center, right? It's the being, it's the life force, right? So we say Totem, right? Duagan for our drum literally means a heartbeat, but it's the center of our community. You know, and again, knowing Ken, knowing what we do here, we all have the same mission, right? We're educators. We're leaders. You know, and it's not trying to be arrogant in saying that, but we have a unique opportunity to the community in teaching and opening up minds and opening up hearts of our students to different perspectives and different life ways. So it fit. Everything just fit. And, you know, Jason just nailed it without us really having to talk about anything of what, you know, we were looking for, without having Ken or Jason meet, right? So when Rob and I left Jason's studio, and then we get, I don't know, a few weeks later, or however long later, we get a few texts from Jason showing us kind of like what he was thinking of. It was just breathtaking. So COVID hit, right, during graduation. Ken retired. We did have a little dedication to Ken, of course, but it was just, there was nothing that we could finalize, pun intended. We couldn't set anything in stone. So
You really rehearsed that one, didn't you?
I didn't have everything. This is all scripted. I practiced for hours in front of a mirror. So when we finally get this statue, Jason delivered it to us. It was beyond, it had not yet, and if you remember that we're at commencement, it hadn't yet to be on the base. And even then, it was just impressive and breathtaking. And, you know, so this is just in honor and dedication to Ken. I'm going to invite Ken up to say a few things in a second. But, you know, the idea that what you've done and how you've imprinted this campus, right, is an influence. So with Jason's understanding of like things being permanent, you know, for years to come, right, I think that this is just a small token of gratitude to your imprinting. So anyways, Ken, come on up. I'd like to say a few things. The floor is yours, buddy.
I didn't script anything. I told a few of you that it's the first time I've been back on campus since I retired. It's a little heavy, put it that way.
Well, luckily we're in stone. I got you.
Apetuwaste, emasiipilo, Maasihagida, Elewe Saponi. I said, good day. I was named Maasihagida in the Mandan tradition, which is eagle above. And my tribal affiliation is with the Eastern Lakota, as I found out later they were known as Saponi. We learned that, and this is, I guess, why I'm so humbled by, and seeing this again, it's almost like I had forgotten what it looked like, because it's been a long time ago. It's been over a year, year and a half or something. But we have a phrase, Mitakuye, we are saying, all creation is related, and all creation is equally sacred. But the stone is the grandfathers. They're the oldest, they're the wisest, they have teachings for us. And there's various ways that we relate to and interact with stone. I'm preaching to the choir here. So I'm overwhelmed and humbled by this gesture and by your work, Jason. It's absolutely beautifully striking and gorgeous. And yeah, I was here a long time. It's strange because it seems like it was, like maybe a decade or something, it went by really quick. And when I came in, 20 minutes before things started, Carol, one of my students from, 10 or some years ago?
Oh yeah,
At least
yeah.
15 maybe.
Even weirder that I've got an English accent.
Yeah. So, anyway, this is a tough time of the semester, I think I remember. I'm doing a lot of different things now, like there is a feeling of liberation, Some of you know that I've been into dogs and competing with dogs and training dogs and being out with dogs. Michelle wouldn't know anything about that.
I have to take my dogs back so they don't run over and interfere with Ken's dog stuff.
And that's 35 years anyway. Of course, I do that full time now. It's not like I have any problem finding things to do, and I am enjoying retirement quite a bit. But I do remember this is a tough time of the semester, and I also know that it's been a struggle in making adjustments. I teased a few minutes ago about the love-hate relationship, and that kind of comes into focus as you wind through the difficult struggles of the end of the semester. And there have been additional struggles, I know, in the last couple of years. Man, did I pick the right time to get Woo! That being said, okay, I guess I'll leave you with a piece that I'd like to read that has helped me in professional and personal struggles over the decades, that during my time here I shared with many students that would come and confide in me of challenges that they were facing, obstacles that they were working through. And this is by Joseph Marshall, who is Sichangu Lakota. And I've shared it with a lot of folks. I go back and refer to it regularly, even recently. And this is called Keep Going. A young Lakota once asked his grandfather why life had to be so difficult sometimes. And this was the old man's reply. Grandfather says this: in life there's sadness as well as joy, losing as well as winning, falling as well as standing, hunger as well as plenty, bad as well as good. Grandfather doesn't say this to make you despair, but to teach you reality, to teach you that life is a journey sometimes walked in light, sometimes in shadow. Grandfather says this: you did not ask to be born, but you are here. You have weaknesses as well as strengths. You have both, because in life there are two of everything. Within you is the will to win, as well as the willingness to lose. The heart to feel compassion, as well as the smallness to be arrogant. Within you is the way to face life, as well as the fear to run away from it. Grandfather says this: life can give you strength. It can come from facing the storms of life, from knowing loss, feeling sadness and heartache, from facing the depths of grief. You must stand up in the storm. You must face the wind and the cold and the darkness. When the storm blows hard, you must stand firm, for it is not trying to knock you down. It is really trying to teach you to be strong. Grandfather says this: being strong means taking one more step toward the top of the hill, no matter how weary you may be. It means letting the tears flow through the grief. It means to keep looking for the answer through the darkness of despair. It's all around you. It means to cling to hope for one more heartbeat, for one more sunrise. Each step, no matter how difficult, is one step closer to the top of the hill. To keep hope alive one more heartbeat at a time leads to the light of the next sunrise and the promise of a new day. Grandfather says this: the weakest step toward the top of the hill, toward the sunrise, toward hope, is stronger than the fiercest storm. Grandfather says this: keep going. Oh. From the bottom of my heart, folks, Jason, Seth, thanks for everything. Wo pila tanka, pila maya.